Our next guest is no stranger to our TV screens. We have avid collector and former Federal Minister, Mr. Barry Jones. Barry, welcome so much to Collectors.
I'm pleased to be here.
Now, you have Australia's largest collection of autographs, but your collection of Australian Prime Ministers' autographs began when you were just a little boy.
When I was at school, really about the time of the end of the war, I started writing to Australian Prime Ministers, and so I built up a collection of Prime Ministers. I mean, here, for example, you've got a signed photograph of John Curtin and an official letter. And then later on, other Prime Ministers have been added, Ben Chifley and Sir Robert Menzies, who was not then Prime Minister, leader of the opposition. So I built up this significant collection when I was still at school. The first significant thing I had in my collection outside of Australia was this letter from Warren Hastings. But when I read it, I felt a bit shortchanged because I thought, oh, Warren Hastings wasn't really the first British Governor-General of India, which people always assumed. He was really just the first Governor-General of Bengal. Back in my early period in Pickerbox, there was a question, who was the first British Governor-General of India? Now, I knew for sure that they'd want the answer Warren Hastings, but I knew that Hastings wasn't correct. And it became the sort of stuff of folklore. And I remember years later when I was a minister and I was entertaining a very proper Japanese minister, and we were walking down the street, and a truck driver pulled over and wound down the window and said, "Hey, Baz, who was the first British Governor-General of India?" Well, it was clear the Japanese minister had never had anything like this that happened in Tokyo, so
Absolutely not.
He thought these Australians are very odd people.
Barry, you have a wonderful collection of autographs from US presidents.
I was very fortunate. See, I've got this document of Abraham Lincoln, written when he was a lawyer in Illinois. It's not exactly the equivalent of the emancipation of the slaves, but I've got a document here which isn't in a volume, but of George Washington, where George Washington is receiving his wages, £859, 17 shillings. And that's not a bad wage. That's right. And on the other hand, here's what I think is quite a funny letter from Franklin D. Roosevelt. "I'm very glad to enclose a cheque for $3. $3, do you mind? For the tickets which you sent to me. Very sincerely yours."
I must say, I love the way you've done it. I mean, it's super having photographs and the way you've written it with your beautiful hand here.
Some of the pieces are typewritten. I would imagine that a handwritten letter all the way through
yes.
are going to be much more valuable.
Far more valuable. Well, but depending on what the material is.
Yeah, okay.
If I had one last question, who would you most like to have the autograph of?
Jesus.
That was pretty rare.
We'll see what we can arrange, Barry.
Yeah.
And on that note, Barry, thank you so much for coming in. It's been an absolute privilege to have you here on Collectors.
Thank you, Claudia. And thank you, Gordon.